From Goblin games to weird last names, folks, it was one heck of a Goblin Mode. I'm Dan Casey, and this is Sagas of Sundry, Quests and Answers. We're going to break down the latest episode of Goblin Mode for you in just a moment, but first, let me introduce my amazing cast.
Danielle Radford.
Amy Vorpahl.
Nguyen.
Now, before we go any further, I do have to remind you, as is customary before any Goblin games, there's going to be some spoilers in them there hills. And if you haven't listened or watched the latest episode of Sagas of Sundry Goblin Mode yet, well, frankly, I feel bad for you because you're missing some quality stuff. And also, this is going to make no sense. So, make better choices, come back, and we'll talk about it again later. All right, with that very succinct warning out of the way, I gotta ask, Jason.
Yeah.
As an only child, is it customary to point a gun at your siblings?
Yeah. I'm not an only child. I do have a brother, but
no, I'm an only child.
Oh yeah, you're an only child.
I know your brother.
Yeah. I was like, it's just something, you think about. You think about sometimes they get you there sometimes, and sometimes the only answer is violence.
It was very New Jack City, like, am I my brother's keeper? I was like, what are we doing?
Just Tippy with a tear down his face. Oh my God.
Well, it's the only time I actually get to roll well in like a combat encounter, and so.
Oh yeah.
It just felt like I had to seize the moment.
It was one heck of a moment. We'll come back to learning all about your siblings, Juck and Tog, and the rest of your family. This was a big change of pace from the last, I want to say 4 or 5 episodes. We were fighting death cults. We were fighting negative specter images of ourselves and our own memories. And now we're fighting against our inability to properly negotiate with local goblin merchants and purveyors of ill will and mushrooms.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You were brought through a portal into the very heart of the whole Sundaros battle arena, and then you're launched into kind of a whimsical little land where goblins are just doing their own thing. They're almost as if they don't, they know of Scythe of Relay. It seems like they're impressed when you mention it, but are they really inside the stakes of the world? Not really. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it in the larger sense, it's like saying, oh yeah, I fought a bunch of Satanists, or just random sure
cool.
you did.
Yeah.
Okay. I bet half of them don't think the Scythe of Relay even exists.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, oh, that sounds like a big evil thing that doesn't really bother us over here.
But I also like that, to me, I am big anime fan, love shonen anime, love specifically a tournament arc.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we're setting up for Tippy to sort of prove that hard work and stick-to-itiveness can overcome even the most naturally gifted of goblins. You're gonna go full Naruto in the Chunin death exam.
Yeah, I've got to go from Genin to Chunin, or however it works. But I couldn't do it without my Bannerman and my, what was it?
Yeller Holler?
Yeller Holler.
Speaking of Yeller hollering, sweet ass rap.
Oh, good Lord. I do these things to myself, and then I'm like, yeah, no, that is how improv works.
And then you
I have
crush
to say
it.
yes. I can't say no.
Wait, I want to know, how are you good at that?
I'm not. That's how that works.
No, disagree. Okay, so just fundamentally
secret is that
disagree.
I'm not.
What do you practice?
No,
do you
I do not rap. I do not rap because it's not my
Do you just
wheelhouse.
sit at home? Do you write poems? Do you?
Absolutely not.
That's bizarre.
I am prose only. I will say, you know what?
We got a strict pros only rule in the house.
Pros before pros. I will say, you know what? I like a lot of alliteration. Like when I was recently watching this, I wrote VO for one of those hey, this is what food is like in different places that no one gets to eat, but you get to watch someone else eat. And I'm listening to the intros, I'm like, you can tell it's me because it does hit. It's very alliteration, weird pun, maybe something sexy, alliteration. It's probably that because I do write very alliteratively. So maybe that's.
So you're a wordsmith.
I've always got kind of I let it's like it rhymes.
But you also it wasn't just the rap. It was you also did a whole story.
Oh, I think you're talking about the rap, but I think you're talking about when you did the Yeller hollering for Tippy to impress everyone in the town square.
The Fummy Crust.
The Fummy Crust clan, the Ballad of Tippy, the spoken word anthem. That was awesome.
It was awesome.
And it's that's all what happens. And when you say it out loud, it's like, yeah, he is him. Tip is
that
him.
guy.
He
He's
is
that
that
guy.
guy. He is the dude. When you like go through and you think of like the arc of everything that he's been through.
Yeah.
I didn't even start with like escape from a dungeon and all those other things.
Yeah.
Like you are like well on your way to being a hero of myth and legend. You just have to like turn it up with a real big voice, as you said. Just like make your voice real big.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's why when Phibbs was talking to Went Cudgegloom, the local bookie slash shroom slanger, everything I was saying about Tippy is like, I don't believe that. Because it sounds literally
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Tippy doesn't believe that.
Yeah, stood up to the side, but also died and came back, and yeah, it's a little bit out of their purview for sure.
So, Amy, I gotta ask, what's up with these last names? Did you just generate like 100 plus
Flummy
list of
Crust,
crazy
Bust
last names?
Flog, Pulbus Slampers,
you dropped
Turkey Flood Gunk.
You dropped some bombs on me today, and that Tippy's last name is Busflog, and sweet
And Judge
Picara.
Glumgin Mospronk.
Oh, the sexiest name ever, Picara Donk Nozzle. Pretty cool.
Well, you're goblins.
You're right. You're right.
And soon you're going to be Donk Nuzzlin.
I hope I Donk Nozzle. We'll see.
I worked on a show. Yes, I named these characters all by myself, and it did take some time. But I worked on a show one time where I was an actor, and it was a space show, and they had to name aliens, and they named them these kinds of names, and it was so fun. And it's just too fun to not dive in and make you and do these. Say these names out loud, remember them, write them down. And then I did a Feywild campaign for D&D Live, and I called it Flobby Bonks and Guzzle Shucks. And
Guzzle Shucks.
I'm sorry, one more time?
Flobby Bonks and Guzzle Shucks.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Bonks and Guzz.
Bonks and Guzz.
And ever since then, it's like, you get few delights as a DM,
Yeah.
and you just got to take your little candy where you can get it.
I mean, I was delighted. That's why I kept asking for everyone's full name.
Full name? What's the last name? We got him. You haven't even scratched the surface, let me tell you.
Good.
Well, you better
Because,
believe
yeah.
I'm going to be vigorously introducing Phibbs to every character he comes across.
Good. That will make me happy. It'll make me feel like my work meant something.
More government names, please. Like we need to know everyone's true name. Speaking of, you just straight up, Tippy has decided that he has cast his family aside.
Yeah.
He is officially now part of the Terror Squad, which I guess it would be like the
Which is now our surname.
which is now our surname. We are of the what would it be of the Lair squads. Like what would we? Where are we from? Our family? I don't know. We need a crest. Well, we've got a crest now because we've got that beautiful.
Yeah, we have,
crest
which will hopefully gussy up in post-production. But the
No.
one that I drew is
No, that's it.
It's
We're
legally
not gushing
drawing.
anything up.
Yeah,
That's
I was
the
just
banner.
like doodling, and you're like, oh, you're drawing it, right? I'm like, yes, I am.
I do because when I was picturing it, I was like, okay, how would that even look? And I'm sure you were doing the same thing. And I was like, well, if a spider is holding 8 guns, that actually means that there are 0 legs left to stand on.
I have to imagine there's just like,
Well, two
you
of
can't
them.
really
They
see it in
stand
the
on 2 guns.
background because
Yeah.
it's so like gossamer thin,
Yeah.
but just a small, like a little bit of webbing from the spider butt leaning towards off flag, holding them up.
Yes, it's a gorgeous image.
And let's not forget that Loof has a gun now.
Loof
so.
does have a gun.
Loof has 1 gun. We
And
have to make her
Tippy's-
We have to
7
make
more
her-
and a clipboard.
You're right.
And
you're
Tippy
right.
has another gun, but it's not the same gun.
It's not the
as
same gun,
before.
but it's time for him to have his own gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say yes
Yeah.
so hesitantly.
I
Let me have my gun.
I know.
I did.
I love that Picara was like, look, you don't need like a gun, and Tippy's like, but counterpoint, what if
Yeah.
gun?
But I also rolled a nat 20, so.
Yeah.
I'm getting a gun.
I do like that he's like, that is news to me.
Yeah, it was.
Did
It was.
not know that strength came
She just
from-
has confidence somehow from nothing. What is
Yeah.
that?
Maybe she's a wear gun.
Oh, maybe she is.
she got
That's
bit
the
by a
answer.
gun.
She was bitten by something confident.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that this town, like this like weird little swamp village that has like Goblin Gladiator games also randomly has like beautiful hot springs.
Yeah, it's a swamp. It's got some cool nature that isn't completely hideous.
What was the inspiration for this town? Was there any place you were thinking of when you were making? Where are we? We're in.
Meyerfin. Near Finfetteldelve.
Right.
Or Fidfetteldelve.
Fitfetteldelve.
Fitfetteldelve.
Meyerfin upon Fitfetteldelve.
Yes, Meyerfin upon. Inspiration is, I guess it's, I guess fantasy swamp, and then, I don't know, I think a lot of my inspiration, as I've been talking to, like, the art director, when I've sent them photos, I'm like, wow, I think everything that inspires me is Disney from the 80s.
Well, that's a solid.
Because it's
reference.
like even the swamps. Like I think I think of them as lighthearted. Under the Water is definitely like Little Mermaid, and then like this swamp thing. It's like, well, sure, it's swamps, but also I'm picturing, I think, The Lion King. I don't think I'm doing this consciously. It's just like that's burned into my head as far as
I like that this is
go.
like the picture that you think you're painting, when in reality it's like Watership Down, just like horror and blood.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think you were there.
No, it was fun
Don't
underwater.
think that was very Disney.
They
in the
tore a
80s.
corpse apart and fed it to a demon turtle.
Right, Disney in the 80s, goo heaven.
Nemo in Slumberland.
So I
All
always
gobs go to heaven.
I always knew that I wanted a swamp place, because I think, when you're thinking about Dungeons and Dragons, you think that that's like a geographical area. But I will say that there was a time where the story was taking a different path, and we were not going to come to this swamp. Actually.
Oh, really?
Really? Yeah.
And that
Are we
but
perhaps going to go to that biome still that you're thinking of?
It's
a
not
tundra or a taiga, perchance?
Why would I tell you that? Like on any level, why would I tell you that? The way things have turned out, there is something that we may have. There are maybe a couple locations that just didn't get played with.
All right.
Ooh,
But maybe we'll still go.
So
I
it's
don't know.
definitely a
Let's just
tundra or a taiga.
I know what we should do. Let's just abandon the Goblin games and.
You know what? We formally withdraw. And he's like, no, I'll kill you.
Look, there's a reason for everything.
Sure there is.
There is a reason, and maybe you'll find out what the reason is. If you abandon it, maybe you won't find out what the reason is.
Yes.
Right.
You must follow the trickle of clues
It is-
emanating from the donk nozzle.
The donk nozzle.
1/8 of a mushroom at a time.
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna get Tippy all shroomed up for his big day.
Yeah, I guess I have to be high out of my mind to be in the Goblin games.
Don't worry, everyone else is doing it. These are performance-enhancing mushrooms.
No one can tell. You're totally fine.
Yeah. This is gonna last forever.
I think we have to figure out a way to like hang on to our gold more too, because we're in so many situations where they're like money, and we're like, here's all of it.
Yeah.
Well, I consciously wanted to give away all of it because I want Phibbs to have his Uncut Gems arc. That is where I'm just like, he's just like, oh, I've heard of gambling. Like, and I want him, he's so confident that Tippy's gonna take home the prize that he's like,
I'm confident.
it's basically free money.
I do like that that when you were negotiating with that Kudgegloom was like, why though? Like super suspicious.
Yeah.
Like, this guy just showed up.
Yeah, he
Nobody
was
really
real
knows about
suspicious.
him.
Oh, he's like one of my best friends, and I believe in him.
Yeah, but there was nothing really to hang on to.
Yeah.
And
definitely feels like we've fixed the fight. Like if I'm that dude, I'm like, okay, then like they've definitely fixed this fight.
Oh,
But
yeah,
that's encouraged. So I don't know why he should be so suspicious.
It is weird. It
like
is weird
Fixer.
to it is weird to run a game that is surrounded by goblins who are notoriously, cheaters, liars, undercutters, subterfugers, and
Please do not slander Pulba Slampers like this.
power slampers, the worst of them all, drooling, overcome with cheatery, and then also go, okay, but there are rules to the game, but also everyone is like, we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun.
At what point did you know that they were all going to be from the South?
Look, I will give credit to the writer, Rin Eller-Sheldon, for that, because she was very, very convinced that this should be flavored with that.
Yeah, I guess you were in the swamp. Maybe they're bayou people.
Swamp, bayou. Also, it's kind of like a county fair situation, or like a church picnic, but Goblin Mode.
Yeah.
Come to the church picnic. We have gladiatorial duels, but also a beautiful spa.
Gorgeous spa.
Yeah, who knows if anyone's going to interact with that. But I will say that the last 4 episodes have been so high octane that if we kept going at that pace, we're
gonna die. We were gonna die.
It's like, well, everyone's gonna die all the time. And so to have this respite, maybe, or just a different, where it just makes a lot of sense to take a step back from literally the Scythe of Aurelia, who is it feels like the Scythe of Aurelia is like a big bad that anyone would encounter in season 5 or something like that.
Yeah. No, I always appreciate it when the adventurers get to take like that breath after, getting out of the Mines of Moria and, just regrouping and talking.
It's not quite a shopping episode.
No,
because we're not good with money.
We are not good with money.
We're shopping for information.
But you did trade a loof conversation for mushrooms.
Yes.
So
I'm still impressed it worked. Because I was also like, I don't know if loof can be understood by this random ass goblin bookie.
It really
She's
helps.
picked up a couple words from us.
She has, and she. We've got some skeleton lore added to the canon.
Well, we'll see if that's actually lore, if this is just Loof's lies that skeletons fart.
Oh, what a shame that would be if it wasn't lore at this point.
Some crazy lore dropped on us today. Skeletons fart, donk nozzle. Let's just not.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's a phase spider trying to pass the buck.
Yeah.
We had some clipboard subterfuge. That was cool. You were spying on folks.
Yeah, I just aside from the fact that obviously Busy's super excited to get to do some spying because that is something that she's super into now.
Yes.
It was also one of those things where it's like, well, would I rather get more secrets to help genuinely, or would I have rather went and started stealing everybody else's weapons? And part of me was like, if I go and steal everybody else's weapons, we have no HP. We have enough.
That's right. We all have 1 HP.
We have enough, with the Song of Rest, that it was I just want us to get us enough that if something did happen, at least we could bone pile.
We can take one hit.
We could take one hit and be okay and not just be completely dead. Had we went into this encounter with more HP, it was probably going to steal.
We haven't brought this up in a while, that you all are squishy classes. You've all chosen pretty squishy classes.
I think that's pretty clear.
It is very clear.
Which combat encounter gave it away? All of them?
But even with your multi-class, when it's Busy's gonna really, get some constitution up in here. It was like a rogue.
Yeah. Well, I think as I continue to level up in both of these, I'll get some more fighties and probably some more other stuff.
For sure.
But mostly it's just I want to be talking in
I love it. I fundamentally love that it is a squishy group, and it's basically everyone has chosen a class for the story, not for balanced party tactics.
I will always be 3 hits away from needing to roll a new character. That is my promise.
Yes.
Well, and I think that also speaks to what our role was in Unzug's Lair, where our jobs were fighting, and then also you got to use some of your artificer stuff with traps.
Yeah, just making traps.
Yeah, it's again, like you said, we were code, so it was just take sword, bank, take sword, bunk. And now that we're able to choose new lives for ourselves, it makes sense that all of us are hey, maybe we're gonna try to do something where it isn't just hit big thing with stick and run.
It also makes the bone pile mechanic narratively hilarious, because if you think at the beginning, our job was just to stand there and rah, like a character at Halloween Horror Nights, and a gallantling coming through the dungeon would bonk us once with a sword, we just collapse into a bone pile.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That felt really satisfying.
It is. I mean, we've been doing this for a while now, and it really blows my mind how much story and theme and metaphor that we're actually uncovering with kind of a gimmicky premise, just your minions in a dungeon and however, it's turning into, but you're real people, 360 degrees, coming of age, like growing and burning down the past, and now here we are. Like, I couldn't have predicted any of this. Having a romance, burning down a romance. Yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, I love how much these characters are actually growing, and they're growing in ways that, like, I'm definitely not expecting, because I'm trying to go out there. I'm just trying to shoot stuff with my gun. That's really the only. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys noticed. I am just trying to shoot things with my gun, and
or yeet your brother.
Or yeet my brother. Right? If I have to, I'll yeet my brother. But it is interesting, these moments that I find Tippy actually really growing and learning, like even just that dance with Pecora at the end and managing to say I love you, and I, even when that came out of my mouth, I was like, oh my, wow, like he got there. And I don't know, it's easy to lose myself in that, because it's so nice to feel somebody try and get better. Right.
Yeah, it is interesting that we don't have a resolution there. There was a part of me that was like, maybe we get a resolution in this episode with Tippy, but it's
it makes
not quite
sense
right
that
yet.
she wouldn't let him off the hook like that. He missed his
he
missed
shot.
his very clearly defined moment.
You don't fumble the baddie. And
very understandable why she would be like, no, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Especially like going into it with being like, oh, hey, is that guy watching?
Yeah. Oh, Judge.
And it's also like, hello, Judge. I know, a terrible way to start that romantic encounter.
Well, y'all may not, but I am like an expert dater. Like, I'm very good at dating. Not great at, I haven't, found a person, but I'm very good at dating. I've dated like my entire life, been single forever. And so like that, that's part of, you get some of that as a dungeon master going, oh, are we doing a romance scene?
I felt a little, felt a little something there, Amy. I was like, a lot of vitriol from.
No, not vitriol, but just going like, okay, like what actually is happening?
I was like, ooh.
Clocking.
Sorry, it's tense.
Tippy Gungy.
No, it's just noticing like, okay, well, if you're talking about the judge, like there's a lot to clock there. That is it true
he's not
romance?
the smoothest
is this
guy.
Yeah.
It is insane to me.
My slip showing a little, or a lot, who knows?
It's insane to me though, like, again, talking about character growth, like not just for Tippy, but for these two guys, like it is crazy to me the hijinks that we are up to, but you guys were locked in like eternal cat and mouse and died at each other's blades, and it's funny, so funny to just imagine you two next to each other as Busy's rapping and Phibbs is waving a banner around. Like I want to hear more about like you guys as players thinking about that being your backstory, even though you had to burn it down, and how that plays into like the choices.
I think for Phibbs at least, it was kind of like his desire to know more about that was almost not tainted, but it was just like kind of like, oh, I feel like I know everything I need to if that's who I become when I'm left to my own devices, if I follow this like recursive path of dwelling in memory for so long that I become this like weird, like incorporeal, like dream lich in the form of Filvarel. And I definitely want to know more about certain things still. I think there's certain things that Phibbs uncovered about himself through those memories, through hearing about Filvarel's memories, about what Phibbs or Phil had been up to when he was alive, that are probably going to inform Phibbs's mission, because it seems like they were sort of aligned. Phibbs has had this deep and abiding interest in the Sundari, in collecting all of these items, and it certainly sounded like Filvarel was doing something similar. So that may come back, but at the same time, just because Filvarel and Berignius had this adversarial sort of cat and mouse relationship steeped in a mutual respect, and yes, they ultimately killed each other in one of the coolest scenes in the campaign so far, but that is not who Phibbs and Busy are now to Phibbs. Like, they are their own people. Like, those people died and we were reborn. And while we are technically the same being on that long linear timeline, we are new entities and carving our own path. And I think that is exciting to Phibbs and exciting to me as a player in the larger context of like, who are these monsters outside of the sort of context in which most people experience them? And how can they tell their own story?
Yeah, because so much of the story is about like even shedding the past of being a minion and going forth in the world and joining in the world. There is a lot of that, like, we can use that as almost like a cautionary tale of the people that, like, for Busy, it's like the person that she doesn't want to be. And so much of that is, I mean, and I kind of lampshaded the like selfishness of it, but also the fact that, like, you know, she had to be selfish because, like, she didn't take the risks that she should have taken, and she wasn't brave enough to do that then. And that isn't going to be that's something that, like, Busy doesn't want to do. And Busy is, like, fully enjoying living a life. Like, all of this, you know, it's really scary, and it's like on the knife's edge of like an apocalypse, but it's living a life and getting to be like her own person. And so it's having that there, and that informs, and it's like, you know, very much good to know, but that almost feels like it's like it's a hazy dream of just someone else's life. And this is who Busy is now, and Busy has her own aspirations and like her own things that she wants.
I love that y'all are on the same page about that, and how there is another version where this all meant very, very much to you, and you go back and look for that past. You know, it's something that I had prepared for, like, oh, this not that it doesn't matter, but it matters to the story, and maybe that'll feed in. And the fact that you're burning it all down, it's just kind of like, yeah, great. Now let's really tell this tale and what's happening throughout this campaign. As when you began, it was like, well, who do we know? We know the people in the dungeon. Obviously, Tippy's got a little bit of backstory, but not really. He doesn't know these people intimately anymore. It's more like, but as we're moving forward, now you're realizing you're knowing people in this world in several different geographies, and you're making your mark on them. There are people you can call upon. You even were asking about Chab and Dupper. It's like, oh, you're recalling things that have happened, and that just means that the connections you've made, they haven't been these futile, like, how you doing? Okay, bye. It's like, you're mattering to the world, and the world is mattering to you.
But you know who no one asked for? Fug.
I was going to say, my apologies to Fug.
I asked for Fug.
My apologies to Fug, who I could not remember for the life of me. I was scrambling back through notes, and you're like, he's
remember Fug.
I wrote him down, but like sometimes my handwriting is like a doctor in an earthquake. It's just illegible.
Yeah,
after
you don't even want to see my notes.
Fug was one of those completely. I was like, if Plixie's here, who else is here? And it was like, oh.
Yeah, totally Fug.
When you said he's the circle guy, I'm like, he's very round. I'm like, the guy who's just circles. Yes.
Oh, I'm glad you remember that. That's how you would draw him.
And I forgot that he's the one who bit Tippy, which is so good.
Yeah, it was that moment when he was like, I'm an eagle. And it's like, yes, you are. You're an eagle.
You're my spawn.
Yes.
He said to you.
He called me his spawn.
So
horrible.
This is going to be really interesting to resolve what's going to happen when Tippy has to compete for both of his daddies in the Goblin games. And we will find out for ourselves on the next episode of Sagas of Sundry Goblin Mode. How this shakes out, time will tell, but I can't wait to see who wins Night, Frog Stompin', the Umbaba dance. There's so many, and the fourth secret one. There's a secret event. Who knows? He's going to be hopped up on mushrooms. But you'll find out what's going to happen for yourself next time when you tune in, watch, however you choose to consume. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Insane.